Welcome back, coding buddies. In our previous lesson, we have learned about Box Model. In this lesson, we'll explore how to control the size of elements using width and height, understand different units like pixels, points, and percentages, and learn how padding and margins affect the total size of elements. Let's begin with CSS units. In CSS, we use different units for expressing a length. There are two types of length units: absolute length units and relative length units. Absolute length units are fixed length units. These will appear as exactly that size. Examples of absolute length units include pixels, points, inches, etc. Relative length units specify a length relative to another length property. Examples of relative length units include percentage, VH, etc. One of the most common unit we use in CSS is pixels. Pixels is represented as px. They give an element a fixed size, regardless of screen size. For example, width 200 px means the element will always be 200 pixels wide. Another commonly used unit in styling websites is percentage. Percentages make your layout responsive. This is helpful for flexible designs. For example, if you write width 50% and the parent element is 100 pixels wide, so the element will be 50 pixels wide, which is 50% of 100 pixels. Similarly, if the parent element is 50 pixels wide, 50% width will be 25 pixels. Now that we have learned about CSS units, let's see how to set width and height of an element. You can control the size of an element using the width and height properties of CSS. But this doesn't include padding, border, or margin. It includes only the content area. Let's learn how padding affects the width and height of an element. Padding adds space inside the box. So, a 300 pixels wide box with 20 pixels padding on both right and left sides actually takes up 340 pixels in amp. 100 pixels height will actually takes 140 pixels by adding 20 pixels top and bottom padding. Borders also add to the total size. So, a 5 pixels border on each side means 10 px more. So the total width becomes 350 pixels, where 300 pixels is the width of content, 40 pixels is the width of padding, 20 pixels on both sides, and 10 pixels is the width of border, 5 pixels on both sides. And the total height becomes 150 pixels, where 100 pixels is the height of content, 40 pixels is the height of padding, 20 pixels on both sides, and 10 pixels is the height of border, 5 pixels on both sides. When you set width and height in CSS, you're only setting the content area by default. To calculate the actual size an element takes up, you use this formula. Total width equals content width plus left padding plus right padding plus left border plus right border. Total height equals content height plus top padding plus bottom padding plus top border plus bottom border. Margin has no effect on element height and width. By default, the width and height in CSS only count the content. They ignore the padding and border. That means if you say width 300 px and add some padding or border, your box actually grows bigger than 300 px. But don't worry, CSS gives you a handy shortcut: box sizing, border box. With this hero property, the padding and border are included inside the width you set. So width 300 px really means everything: content, padding, and border will all fit neatly inside 300 px. No messy math. Let's do the practical. We have styled our projects page in the last video. I am going to add a section below the table in projects page here. Inside the section, let's give a heading. I am creating this box to visualize Box Model in a better way. Create a div now. This will be the actual box which we will style. Let's add some content inside this div. So I am giving a heading and a dummy paragraph so that we can style it later. I am giving it a class so that I can style it using Class Selector in Style Sheet. Let's give class name as Highlight Box. Now move to styles.css. Here we will add the styling using Class Selector as we have studied earlier. I am adding comments for your better understanding. Let's give it a width of 300 pixels, a height of 100 pixels, and a border of 5 pixels solid to create a box for better visualization. Refresh the web page and you can see a box with 300 pixels width and 100 pixels height. It also has a border of 5 pixels. Let's add some padding of 20 pixels and a margin of 30 pixels auto, which means that 30 pixels will be the top and bottom margin and auto will centralize it horizontally. Also adding a background color from my theme colors. Let's refresh the page and see it in action. Our box is now centralized horizontally because of auto margin. It has padding and a border. But how will you visualize it in browser? For this purpose, Chrome browser shows you the entire box model by inspecting the element. Let's inspect the element. You can scroll down a little here and see your box model. The content is 300 by 150 pixels wide. Then we have a padding of 20 pixels. The border is 5 pixels wide but it is showing 4.667. And then we have a 30 pixels margin from top and bottom and auto sets it left and right margins automatically. You can inspect any element here and see its box model. You can see that our box width is 300 pixels. If we are changing the size of browser, the width is not changing. Because we have used a fixed length unit that is pixels. Let's change the width to 50% and see what will it do. Refresh the page. You can see it has taken the width of 50% of its parent div, which is section tag. If we change the browser size, it will change automatically. This is very helpful for designing a website for mobiles, tablet or web browser. We will learn it later in more detail. You can also see it by giving a 100% width. It will take the full width of container. In this way we don't need to calculate whole page size. We can give width in percentages, which is a relative length unit. Let's change it to something else. I am giving it 30% for now. Let's see what will happen if we add box sizing property to the box we have created. I am adding the property box sizing equals border box inside the div class styling. Now refresh the page and see it in action. You can see that the content width is now reduced and the 30% width is divided among content plus padding plus border. Same as height of 150px is divided among content, border and padding. But what will happen if our content is big and we are giving it small box to fit in? Let's add some more text inside this div and see how well it goes. Oops, it is going out of the box. This is called that the content is overflow. Let's see how will we handle this case. The overflow property lets us control what happens when content goes beyond the box. Let's see the options. First is visible. It is the default property. It lets the content spill outside. Second option is overflow hidden. It chop off the extra content. Next is the overflow scroll option. It adds a scroll bar no matter what. Last is the overflow auto. It adds a scroll bar only if needed. Let's see it one by one. First is overflow visible. It is a default property. It will have no effect. It will let the content flow outside the box. Second is overflow hidden. It will trim down the overflowed content, like this. The next is overflow scroll. It adds a scroll bar on both sides. You can see here that it adds a vertical scroll bar, which is fine, but the horizontal scroll bar was not necessary. But it adds on both places. Last is the overflow auto property. It only adds the scroll bar where it is necessary. You can control the overflow of horizontal and vertical sides by using overflow X and overflow Y as well. X is for horizontal and Y is for vertical content. Here I am only using overflow auto, which will handle my case well. Now it's your turn. Set height and width of different elements in your portfolio website. Try using different fixed length units and absolute length units. Change the padding and border values and see how it affects the box size in each case. Don't forget to share your experience in the comments section. In this video, we have covered CSS units, fixed length and absolute length units, CSS width and height, and how padding and border affect these. We also learned about box sizing and overflow properties. In the next video, we will cover typography and text styling in CSS. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our exciting lessons.